What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. I am, of course, Vaughn Coleman, and with me is my guest. You may have seen him around my channel before. He's on quite a bit, and if you haven't, happy to introduce him. BS Warren, how you doing?
Yo. How you doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's my pleasure. Now, you're uh, you're something of a writer, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes. You read my sample chapters. Yes, I primarily write fantasy and science fiction. Eventually I'll get around to writing comic books, but those projects are a long ways away.
Yeah.
But I have a project up right now that my first one that I've completed and that I'm officially publishing. Uh but yeah.
Yeah, he's got not one, but two. Sorry, two campaigns, same book. And let's see where they're at now. Would you like me to bring up the Indiegogo or the kick from my comic first?
You can bring up Indiegogo first because I've already got a few people. Someone actually picked up the retailers tier already, so
Uh,
I was very excited about that.
and back. Uh, sorry, I should have put this in the chat. Back, young monarchs. All right, and here we go. And you can find the links in the description as well. But I know in the chat when you guys are watching live, it's special to have you guys, kind of there. So let me write that again. Back, young monarchs, and there. So, okay, so you've been writing, and I wanted to ask you, as a writer, who are your biggest influences? Like, what got
Uh,
you into writing?
no, so this was actually it wasn't necessarily an author that brought me into writing. I've always been, I've always loved, telling stories. I feel like that's something that everyone says, but I've always had just this enormous imagination that never like went away as I was growing up, and I also have like this crazy level of stamina. Like whereas some kids will write like 3 or 4 pages, I'll do like 12 to 15. You know, so I
Mhm.
was writing seemed when I was younger, writing seemed like the easiest way to get my stories and my characters, to or basically share them with other people because that was the ultimate goal to be able to share them with other people. um yeah, but my biggest influences, so I mostly just what is it, I feel like one of my biggest influences is Brian Jock. That's one of my conscious influences because he's like, do you know who Brian Jock is?
I don't, but I'll look him
So
up.
yeah, he's the guy that wrote the Redwall books. So like
Okay.
Redwall and Mariel of Redwall and Matameo and all of those. It's the books about like the mice living in the abbey.
I
Um,
don't know if I know Redwall.
yeah. Oh, what's cracking, Marco? Great to see you.
Oh, Brian
Um,
Jacques. Yeah, Jacques. Okay, yeah, I was like, I wrote Jacques. Um, that's cool.
but yeah, I mean even the structure of Young Monarchs, I get the what is it? Young Monarchs is broken up into 3 parts, much like the Redwall books are. But yeah, he's one of my biggest conscious influences. I mean, I also got while I was writing, because this didn't come out when I was younger. This came out what, like 2000. It had to be like late 2000 teens, something like that. It was a manga, The Promised Neverland. Some of my characterization I pulled from, I can't remember the manga's name or the writer of that manga's name off the top of my head, but I got some of my characterization methods from them. I pull from like all over the place, manga, comics, all of that.
Yeah, and that definitely comes across in your writing style, which I will definitely get to. I'm kind of glad I read it like right before this because it's very fresh in my head. But your writing style, your story itself, your writing style, all of that really seemed to pull from all different kinds of places. But I do want to ask, what made you decide? Because there's so many avenues, and I mean I love everything from I used to read a lot more books, admittedly, and now I'm definitely going to read this one. But like I love movies, I love TV, I love video games. There's all these different mediums. What made you decide to do a novel for this story? Like, did you come up with it as a novel, or Was it just like how do you go about deciding the medium you want to write in, and what inspired this story?
Usually it's how so the medium I go for that it's usually however like the pacing or whatever appears in my head. Like I mean, I've got plans, like I mentioned, I've got plans for comic books. Like the stories that those characters that I'll be using in those comic books, those are more best suited for comics. You know,
Hmm.
this story, I don't know when it popped into my head, when I had the initial concept for it, it always seemed like it seemed like that it would be more easily the story would be more easily and concisely conveyed as a novel, and it would yeah, it seemed especially because I'm flipping and flopping through a lot of
Hmm.
through eight points of view, because the story
Yeah,
is told from the points of view of this awesome cast of 8 characters.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it definitely transitioning between characters in that way. I mean, you can do it in any medium, but I agree with especially with the novel, approach. It's kind of like you can decide, and especially with your when because you're self-published, you can just decide how long your chapters are, and when it's time to switch. And at first I thought, okay, maybe we'll read like a chapter or two today. I didn't realize like your first couple chapters are pretty quick, like it's super easy to jump into.
Yeah, like what was it? I did the typesetting. What was it? I did the typesetting officially, or I finished the typesetting like a weekish ago, something like that. Um, and I looked at it, I was like, damn, this is actually more than 700 pages. And I mentioned that on Twitter. I was like, damn, this is like over 900 pages. But I know like some people like they just rip right through it. Like one person managed to knock through like the entirety of part one, because like I said, it's in 3 parts. It's they knocked through the entirety of part one in like a day, and they were like, "Where's the next part?" And I was like, I haven't finished editing it yet." And they were like, "What?" And this was like a beta reader that I'm talking about. But
Ooh.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, because listen, I'm sure you get this as a writer. When you're in high school and you're writing about something you don't give a shit about, right?
Mhm.
It's like a pain in the ass, and to write however many pages, like 4 page, 8 pages, 12, like that.
Oh yeah,
But
dude.
then it's like
Especially
I remember when I was in my creative writing class, everyone was like, "Can I write more pages? 15 is not enough. These are not enough pages."
yeah,
I think that's the biggest difference, and but one thing I liked about the weird thing is, okay, let me post them in the chat, but hold on, I'm just bugging everyone on Discord and reminding them that we're live. But let me,
yeah. No worries.
uh, all right, there we go.
I'll tweet. I'll
So
tweet it too.
yeah, no, go ahead. But one of the things you know, that that I liked about it was how quick it went. And the thing is, because you can't, see, I'll post the link in the chat if you guys want to check out the first 6 pages. I know, I'm not, especially with the internet, I feel like has destroyed attention spans. And I already had ADHD to begin with, you know.
Yeah,
But I found that it was pretty simple to get through, and I don't know how many pages it is because again on this you kind of scroll through. So I don't know how many pages per chapter on average. The last one seemed to be longer of the
yeah,
six, right? Or
yeah, because that's the one. That's where the one where they're all at the Blue Moon Council. Yeah, I know the longest chapter, which I could not for the life of me figure out a way to downsize and streamline, was chapter 14. And you'll see that one. What is it at? In my documents editor, it's like 22 pages, something like that. Like
that's not bad.
it's pretty dense, but I mean that's the longest one. Um,
It's been a
yeah,
minute. How long are book chapters typically? Aren't they usually like 20 something? Or am I wrong entirely?
so it depends on the page. Like the page sizes, I think, because like my book is going to be 6 inches by 9 inches, which is like the usual, or I think that's a common trade size. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can laugh. Yeah.
1 second, just moving it down a bit. No, but yeah, that okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So you're I mean, did you when you were writing this, Because I know often I've had a thing like I've written like a 5-issue storyline, and then it's like it ends up being 11 issues, and I'm like, well, like did you? I assume you didn't write this intending it to be however long it ended up being, right? Was there like what were you thinking when you started writing it?
So
What were you thinking, dude?
yeah, what was I thinking? Yeah. So the initial concept behind the story was to have, and this is kind of going way back. Um, uh, the initial concept behind the story was to only focus on like one of the kingdoms, because there's 8 kingdoms in the book. That I made a 3 with my hand, but there's ah,
You do this
my
and then
hands are
this.
too big to fit in the frame. But yeah,
Mm.
there's 8 kingdoms in the book. So initially my plan was to only do like one kingdom. And this was back when I like initially I came up with the idea in high school. It was only to focus on like one kingdom and one character or one group of characters associated with one kingdom, but I couldn't make up my mind about which one I wanted to do. So I tabled the idea for later. But then later on I was like, you know what? What if I just did all of them? And
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's what I decided to do. And the size of the book initially, so what was it? Initially it was supposed to be like a 3-part series. Like after I
Ooh.
started refining the idea and decided to do all of them. But after a while, after I finished part 1, which was initially supposed to be book 1, I thought about it and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Maybe I could streamline this more. And then I had a beta reader go through it and they were like, man, it goes by like really, really quickly. And I was kind of sad it was over. And I was like, okay, maybe I should just compress the whole thing into one big book. So
Ooh.
that's basically how that went. And I was initially like super when I started, because I initially wanted to do like a traditional publishing deal. And yeah, I initially wanted to do a traditional publishing deal. So I was going to have, and most literary agents, they won't pick up books that are more than 120,000 words.
Which is around how wait, oh, is that they do it typically with words, not with like because I guess it depends on like the font.
Yeah, they do it based on word count, and that's another thing. They want you, like literary agents, and this is just a good thing to do in general, like double space your manuscripts and stuff, because when you do that, it makes it a lot less of a slog for somebody to read through. Like that's something I never noticed. Like with the I don't have a fantasy novel within easy reach of me, but that's something I never noticed that makes stuff like a lot easier to read and a lot less tiring. But yeah, sorry, my answer to your original
You're giving
question was
writers
kind of long
answers.
winded.
That's how it's supposed to go. Unlike Alex, you know what? Fuck it, all kingdoms.
Yeah, no,
Whatever
that
that
was
means.
my exact process.
So it was like a combination of multiple ideas then, or
Oh yeah. So what is it? The series, what is it? The settings and like the styles of characters, or well, the not the styles of characters. I don't know if that's the right phrase for it, but the vibe of the characters, I picked that up from shows like what is it, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Kaijudo, which was like a lesser known one that they tried to start a card game for, Bakugan, um like those kinds of things, because they had like each of the basically they had each of those magical creatures that were like from like a certain themed region, you know, and I thought that was really cool. So that's kind of where the inspiration for all that came from.
and so before we because I want to pull up the campaign. I have so many questions, but I want to make sure that I pull up the campaign. But I do want to honor Alex ERB said I got #1 backer and I was flying blind. Had to learn the campaign went live via email like an animal. Well,
He
I'm so
did.
sorry.
Yeah,
But
no, Alex is a freaking G.
yeah,
He
Alex
like
has backed every book I think that I've not maybe not all of them, but everyone that I could think of that are promoted on here. So
yeah, no, dude, he like within, what was it? It was within like, I mean, it wasn't within 20 minutes, because it took me like an hour, because I hit the publish button and then it took me like an hour to read the email, or not read the email, write the email to my early sign up crew, because they I take an eternity to pick and choose the exact phrases that I want to say, but Yeah, as soon as I sent that email, I like checked what
You
like
just
20
lost.
minutes later.
Alex says, "Who doesn't keep a fantasy novel within arm's reach at all times? Refunded."
Oh,
All right.
God, please no, please no.
So, back down. No, kidding.
But not, yeah, no. Alex is awesome, and like as soon as he learned that the campaign went up, he went and clicked it. I couldn't figure out. I don't under. I'm still winging it with like the crowdfunding platform stuff, which
Oh,
is
am I
kind
not
of
following
kind of
you?
obvious.
Yeah.
No, because I don't know how to do like the automatic emails, like the confirmation emails for people. So I have to actually like physically go in and check like for the pre-launch page. I had to go in and I'd check and like download the CSV file like once a day, once every 2 days to check and make sure there to check and see if there were more backers so I could email them. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can't even. I haven't launched my first campaign. You know, part of the glory of watching so many people do, not just like working with people like Billy who've done multiple, and also seeing other people launch theirs the first time, is I just kind of get to sit back, take notes, and I'm like, do that, don't do
Yeah.
that, So it's great, it really is.
Yeah, you lucked out, man. You get to like sit at the foot of the masters and learn.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, you'll get to meet some of them too. But so yeah, I noticed. Yeah, you seem to know all kinds of pop culture and stuff, whether it be manga. I'm not sure. Are you? I forget. Are you a gamer?
Yes, I don't game as much. Pretty much the only thing I play now is Lost Ark, and if I'm in the mood, like Lego DC Villains or Lego
Oh,
Avengers,
I
because
never
those were
played
great.
Lego. I never played Lego DC Villain. I don't. Was Lego Avengers its own game? It was
Yeah,
its own
Lego
game, right?
Avengers was its own game. Lego Avengers wasn't like the story mode wasn't too good because they basically just like
Did the movies, right?
yeah, yeah, they just did the movies, like everything up to Age of Ultron. But the free roam environments are what I really love because that's the free roam environments for Lego Avengers are freaking enormous. Like especially the island of Manhattan. I think the
Dude.
only bad yeah, Mega Man mentioned the Lego games are pretty consistently good.
Oh
I
man,
think the
dude,
whole
Lego Star Wars certified classic. That
oh
is like
yes,
that's how
100%.
my first introduction to Star Wars. I'm not even kidding. Was Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, I think the only bad Lego game I've ever played was Lego Marvel Superheroes 2.
I never played
Um,
that one, but Lego DC superheroes, dude, those games are so good. That's such an odd, but I hold on. I just did a tweet where I was like top 6 favorite games, and I didn't put Lego Star Wars on there because it hasn't been fresh in my mind. But like
yeah,
that game, like unironically, Lego Indiana Jones, Lego Star Wars, Lego Harry Potter, Lego. I mean, those are like the biggest ones. I think were there.
yeah. I mean, I know there are a couple Lego movie games, but I didn't really play those. They're
Oh,
the
I didn't
Lego
either.
Batman games. Um,
Yeah, I
Lego
love the
Batman
Lego
2.
Movie game. Lego, or was it like Lego Movie the game? Oh, Lego Rock Band. Yes, that was a weird one because that one, like, because they all have a distinct style. And
Yeah,
when someone said Lego Rock Band, I was like, how's that gonna work? And it's literally just like Rock Band with Lego people. I think. Did they have bricks? I forget with the guitar. Anyway, off topic. Luke, I assume you mean Luke Stone, who did Fund My Comic. He's Luke. I should have him on here at some point.
yeah.
Luke,
He's cool.
I
He's
haven't talked
awesome.
to him yet, but maybe I could reach out because I know a lot of people would benefit from learning more about this platform. So I should consider reaching out.
Yeah,
Luke says he's eventually going to have an option to aggregate totals across FMC and IGG in real time. That would, wow.
yeah. Luke Stone is freaking awesome. When I initially like considered launching Young Monarchs on Fund My Comic as well as Indiegogo, I was kind of iffy about it because I mean obviously it's angled more towards comic books and not necessarily like prose
Right.
novels. But I reached out to him. I was like, hey, would it be possible for me to crowdfund my fantasy novel on here? And he's like, dude, yes, absolutely. We think creative freedom is important for everybody, including prose novel authors. So yeah, he's an awesome dude.
Yeah. So that's really cool. So there was so much. So before we get into it too much, I want to watch the trailer and because we're gonna keep talking about your creative process and all of that. but I want to make sure that people understand what this book is and what it's about first and foremost. So let's make sure that we let's watch this trailer, and then you could just give us a brief rundown. So
Yeah.
Far away in a world more spectacular than our own, 8 kingdoms of magic and advanced technology are locked in a precarious truce. This centuries-long lull in the bloodshed is prolonged only by the peace summit known as the Blue Moon Council, and as the proxies of each nation prepare to convene once more, they invite their successors to sit in on the international parley with them. However, when an incident at the summit results in them being barred from further proceedings, the 8 heirs are forced to occupy themselves at a local festival instead, and after a chance encounter with one another transforms into 6 nights of mushroom-fueled debauchery, they awaken to find that their week of no consequences has dragged the planet to the brink of war. To repair the peace which they shattered, the heirs agree to work together in secret, but with their differences putting them at each other's throats, that may prove impossible, and as the end to their race against time grows ever closer, it becomes clear that the Monarchs have agendas of their own in motion. Young Monarchs, Last War of the 8 Kingdoms is an epic adult high fantasy novel centered around the exploits of 8 royal heirs who band together to save their world from all-out war. Initially written in early 2018 by the enigmatic Blacksmith of Worlds, the work contains nearly 700 pages blazing with incredible feats of courage, wanton destruction, incendiary romance, and skull-shattering smackdowns between arcane beings and monsters. If you or someone you know yearns for a grand adventure that grabs you by the shoulders and whisks you away to a brand new world, B.S. Warren warmly invites you to back the first Young Monarchs campaign and obtain a copy of the book today.
it's good stuff, man. That's wait, I always try to close out the video and I end up closing the thing, but that's it looks great. I like the trailer. I like how simple it is. You know what it kind of reminds me of in terms of just like the text and then you scrolling is it reminds me of hold on, there we go. It reminds me of like have you ever played the Breath of the Wild?
I have not, but I've seen VTubers play it.
Okay, because like when certain cutscenes, or it's not even that, it's like that, and then there's certain games. Wait, VTubers?
Yeah, I watch VTubers.
Nice. So what was it gonna? There was there's like certain. It's not even just that one. I think it actually Hyrule Warriors does it too, where it's like you click, it has this amount of text on screen, and then you hear the person say it, and then when you're ready to hear the next part, you click it. That's what it reminds me of. But I mean this. So let's take a look at the tiers first. But anything else you want to say about the story that's not in the trailer?
I think the trailer mostly covers it, or at least the basic stuff, because I don't want to give a whole lot away. I will say in the beginning it's very intrigue driven. There's a lot of working from the shadows and uncovering secrets and stuff like that. But the high towards the end of part 1, the high octane action tends to kick up. So yeah, actually maybe even before that.
Absolutely. And I think, for all intents and purposes, even when it's the building up, I felt that it moved pretty swiftly, in all honesty, in my reading. I think one of the things that I liked, well, in your reading, I mean, there's a lot of things I liked. And I can get into specifics. I don't know how specific you want me to get, because some of it is available now. But I do want to ask, because this is a very unique premise. And that's something that's, it's... I don't want to say it's super hard to stumble on, but you know how it is. Like that there's so many stories you're like, oh, that's been done before. But I've never seen, to have high fantasy mixed with a shroom bender. Like it seems like like what inspired that? What made you decide with this fantasy thing that's the direction you wanted to go on, where it was going to be? You get Legend of Zelda where it's like he's saving the kingdom, right? Or even something like Final Fantasy. Okay, I guess saving the kingdom, which you're also doing, tends to be a big thing.
Yeah.
But it's, like you have classic fantasy stories. They're going to slay the dragon, or they're going to, do all this, or they're going to destroy the ring. What made you decide to start your thing off with them doing shrooms? Because it seems like almost two very different genres of like those party movies, or even things like Superbad mixed with like fantasy. Like, would that be...
So that might have been influenced by my own lifestyle back then. I mean, I've never done shrooms, but back when I back when I first started writing Young Monarchs, I was a freshman in college,
Mm.
and I had a rough freshman year because I was, hopped up on my own freedom, and I was like, wow, I can go out and party and do all this stuff. And then, of course, I hit the end of freshman year wall where I get my grades back and I'm like, ugh, I can't go out and party and do whatever the hell I want. Um, but yeah, no, so I will say that might have been an influence, but honestly, for the most part, when I write, I do a lot of how do it's a lot of feeling around and intuition. I think I
Mm.
mentioned that to you before when I was looking over your stuff because I was like, I go off of what feels fire because there's yeah, I know I'm going on another tangent,
No, that's the
but
point of an interview, man.
yeah, there's a quote, I think it's by Tom Collins. He's another author. Let me see if I can find it. But he said, what was it? He said that there's a lot of solid like writing advice out there, like show don't tell, and all that stuff. And I mean, for the most part, it's pretty good. But when it comes down to it, the God's honest truth about writing is, and this applies in pretty much anything creative, whatever works works.
Hmm.
You can break as many rules you want as long as you're nimble enough and good enough to get away with it. And sometimes you'll just lay stuff down on the page and you can't explain why, but it just sounds freaking fire. So that's mostly what I go off of. I try to go off of what would make it maximum fun. And
Absolutely.
I try not to make it too, I don't want to make it too predictable. I try not to make my stuff too predictable, but at the same time, I try to make it satisfying. Like if I set something up, you're gonna like how it pays off in the end.
Absolutely. And there's another thing that going off of that, that's one of the things you got to find is that middle ground between like what structurally often works because people have been doing this for writing in general for a very long time. So you do want to pick up on some of that wisdom, but it's also like at the end of the day, going back to what you said, sometimes what works. One of the things that like okay, so when it came to screenwriting, right? I remember I was writing my first feature-length slasher movie script, and this is a great exercise, by the way. I highly recommend it. Is you want to really break down simple story structure? Here's what you do, right? Watch one of your favorite movies. Every 3 minutes, pause it and write down a bullet point of what happened. And it's never going to be an exact science because the beat sheet it's always going to be a little off with everything, right? But generally speaking, my professor pointed this out. At the 17-minute mark in like any movie, something huge happens. 17 minutes in, or whatever, or like it generally, and it's never going to be exact because sometimes I'm like, well, this talking scene took up like 6 pages, and then this part I got like 3 bullet points in 2 pages. It's never going to be exact, but it's always like finding that middle ground, which I think is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I think even down to like comic books, sometimes I'm like, oh man, like this story should be. Again, I had planned out five-issue storyline. It was probably going to be even less, and that turned into 11, which is being condensed down a bit. You know why? Because it felt right, and I was like, you know what? I need more air to breathe here. I want to add this, and sometimes some of the best thing you could do. I think writers spend, and I don't want to say waste because a lot of the time writing, you really do need to think a lot before you start writing. Because otherwise, if you don't know the lore, your own lore, you might run into major issues. So I do think there's again that balance, but oftentimes you really need to just write.
Yeah.
And I mean, I imagine you must have done a lot of that with these 900 pages.
Oh yeah, like I said, it was initially supposed to be a 3-book series, but then I started like scraping stuff off and condensing it. And I mean, stuff did get added in. Like a lot of a lot of chapter 6 got added in during the second and third drafts. and then more stuff got added in later, as I read more books and as I read more manga and more comics, and as my style evolved, because this took me 5 years. So
Mhm.
I was evolving and improving as I was writing it, so but yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of stuff, I want to get back to. Let me just, John, I was on his stream recently. Great guy. Make sure, John, feel free to link, or you can't link yet, right? I have to mod you. So I'll do that, but make sure to check out whatever John's working on. I know he's got some stuff in the works. He is a writer, and he says, need to know structure before you can break structure. One of my professors, probably more than one, said that too. You really got to make sure that structure before you break it. It's kind of like, and I learned this, I mean, I'm no artist, but I know that artists often have to learn proper anatomy before they can do that really cartoony stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a similar thing where it's like, you don't have to do it exactly, but you have to understand the 3-act structure and all that. And let's see, what else? There were some other comments I wanted to get to. Oh, no, those are just joke comments. I can get to that in a bit. But before I do that, I want to talk about this campaign and the tiers within it. So we've got the Legend in paperback.
Yes.
So this is 900 pages worth of stuff. And I've told you guys, you can read the first 6 pages for free.
900 so I've also got the appendices in there. I've also got a letter to the readers. Not the personalized thank you note. Like there's an actual just general letter included in the book. And then other stuff. Little bit of this, little bit of that.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Make sure to check out on Wattpad if you're not convinced. Because I'm this is normally, at least lately, not my thing because ADHD, but I'm genuinely interested in this book, especially after reading those first 6 chapters. They read very fast. And how many pages, by the way, does those first 6 chapters equal out to? Because it's, when you're reading it online, it doesn't have page numbers. You just scroll.
I don't know. I can look real quick. I know right now when I typeset the full thing, it comes out to 953, something like that, or 900. No, it has to be
953 pages. Or
that's the full book. But the thing is, I'm asking
the first 6 chapters is how many.
Oh
pages?
Yeah, no, that's not the first 6 chapters.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I read that.
Let me see. Teaser Young Monarchs. Control Shift C because I'm a G.
Oh, so you have an app for that? Is that how it works? Do you have an app for calculating?
Oh no, it's a keyboard command. So if you hit Control Shift C on a Word doc or on a Google Doc or whatever, it'll come up with the word count and the page count and stuff like that. So it's 40. It's the first 6 chapters are 43 pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people are definitely joining late. So because someone's like, this is 900 pages. 5 years working on something must be crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is.
You're buying the full book.
This is not a comic book, by the way. I think John is confused. He's like, it's a comic book. He thinks he's buying an omnibus for $25. No, it is a prose, fantasy book.
Yeah.
And 900 pages for $25 is a great deal, especially this is first printing, guys. Is the book? I know the comic book collecting market is big. What's the book collecting market like? I imagine it's not as big because there's literally entire books for used bookstores, and it's just kind of there.
It's mainly, I think it's mainly hardcover and leather bound, really nice editions. My mom used to have what was it, a whole collection of classics like Moby Dick, The Island of Dr. Moreau, Aesop's Fables, all those, and they were bound in really nice leather with gold lettering. So those will be super expensive. But yeah,
it's crazy, man. And look at this, so we got the hardcover right here. That's that's something really special, dude. Because you were mentioning hardcover before, and $40 again, that's a good deal, especially for first printing, collector's item. So you've got all of this for again, really, really solid prices, or just 15 if you just want digital.
Yeah.
Retail, we already got a retailer here. I see. That's a lot of people. I know a lot of people in crowdfunding have talked about how it's hard to get retailers. So that's really cool that you've got one, and other retailers potentially watching it.
Yeah.
Maybe consider that.
Yeah, and even if you're not a retailer, if you want to just get them in bulk and then give them out to your friends or whatever, you're welcome to do that as well.
Yeah. So definitely make sure you check all that out. So I know we've got this cover here. So let's see. Writing a fantasy novel was my dream project.
Dude,
Who's
go
Vaughn
for
using
it.
for distribution?
Who am I using for distribution?
Yeah.
Myself. I'm sending things via UPS, and a couple people that ordered the book, since I know them personally, I'll probably, not Alex VRB, but a couple other people. I'll probably be the distributor.
Yeah, that's what I'm
distribute
thinking.
myself. I'll probably drive over to them and be like, "Yo, surprise! I got your
Yeah.
book right here."
Especially if they're like the same distance away as like the post office, because I've thought about this too. I'm like, all right, if I could just
Well,
go to your
they're
house.
not the same distance away as the post office. They're like 2 or 3 hour drive, but it'll be fun. It'll be a
road
fun
trip.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so right here, your characters. One of the things I remember, seeing this early designs is, so you decided to go for a more manga, like anime style look with
Yes.
this.
Yeah, I really like the art style, and I was trying to, because I had like a specific vision in mind, because I wanted that anime arts, like I wanted that anime art style, but there were certain, I don't know, maybe I'm using the anime vibe is what I wanted, but at the same time, because man, words are failing me right now. But at the same time, there was a very specific style I was going for, and I knew not every anime vibe would cut it. So, yeah, John, this is indeed a straight up actual reading book.
Straight up actual reading book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have pictures, man. I'm sorry. It has one picture and then another on the back, which
it's got the
two
cover,
whole pictures.
And then it's got the maps on the inside.
Oh, it's got the maps. Wait, let me pull those up. Sorry, we were talking about, but we like to make sure the customers are good. We'll talk about the maps in full in a bit. I just, I don't want to get too ADHD.
Yeah, you're fine. I can, yeah, but what was it about the cover? So I went looking. I originally, so I had a list of artists that I wanted, like and of course they're all VTubers because I'm a massive weeb.
Mm-hmm.
They're I don't know if you've ever heard of Yoklesh and Uniho on they stream over on Twitch.
No.
They're part of this like European VTuber group that's kind of they're all artists, and they're enormously talented. They are, but that makes them very high demand. And so around the time that I started shopping for the cover, I looked at their rates and I saw that their commissions weren't open for like the next 2 years, and I was. Yeah, because they're so freaking good. I very much encourage anyone who's listening to take a look and send it out, or take a look and check them out. Sorry, I looked at John's comment in the chat.
Probably back in. Well, any backing counts.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Or you could even tell your friend to back it. Be like, hey, I'm going to be referencing those maps a lot when it comes to reading. Yeah, that's kind of stuff is great.
Yeah.
And what I like about your first 6 chapters too is they're titled like the characters' names. So it's like I was reading and I was like, wait, what did you say about this character? Okay, yep, back. Or just the cover even, right? Oh, what does this character look like again? Okay, boom. It was really, in that regard, it was really simple.
Yeah. That's another thing that I kind of picked that up from comic books and manga as well, because the main characters, like the people that you really want to pay attention to that are like special, they have like they all have like their own unique look.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can pick out if you got Peter Parker standing in a crowd, you can tell who he is. You can pick him out. If you got Steve Rogers, I mean, and I'm talking like even out of costume. If you see these guys in a crowd, they have a unique look that you can pick them out. So that's what so especially in like a fantasy world where I've got like, minotaurs and vampires and, druids and dryads, I had to make each of them, stand out. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's really cool, man. And I like that. And I noticed in your writing, when it comes to the characters, each character is very different. And I was almost like, figuring out where you're pulling from, because it looks like you pull from a lot of stuff. By the way, any Zenyatta here?
Oh, no, that's Trajan. So he's
Are you inspired by Zenyatta from Overwatch?
No, so he's actually, so what is it? So the Travelers are like my own idea, even though the name, is similar to the Traveler from Destiny.
Mm.
The Travelers are a race of spacefaring robots who came to All Earth during a forgotten age. Trajan is the son of one of their government leaders. And their society is kind of like, it appears, you can tell it's artificial and robotic, but I also wanted to give it a similar vibe to like ancient Rome. So I wanted like, robes and tunics and stuff like that,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I never realized that he does look like Zenyatta.
Zenyatta. Yeah, that happens sometimes. So when did you have him because it sounds like you wrote a lot of this first, right? Did you have him design each character individually before putting them on the cover?
Yeah, so he didn't design them. I already knew what they looked like. So I had the book written first, and then I went to him with my visions of the characters. And Sanshiro, my artist, that's who did this, by the way. He did an awesome job. Like I said, I went shopping around and or I don't think I got to that part yet. But I went shopping around in VTuber communities through like their fan art chats and their discords, and I went looking for guys who could, artists whose style matched what I was looking for. And Sanshiro was literally the very first. He was literally the very first artist that I commissioned to like kind of test out, and I was like, oh yeah, you got it. Like by the second one, I was like, oh yeah.
That's
Jules,
good.
yeah, his art, Sanshiro's art is freaking amazing. He really likes drawing girls with like really big muscles. So he had a lot of fun drawing
big Kara. Something else. Anyway,
yeah.
Which he seems to like as well. It was again really easy to pick up when reading, who's who and whatnot, going through this whole thing. So it seems like you pulled from a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know how much you want me to talk about that's in the first 6 chapters, because it's already out there, but I don't know how much of it you want me to talk about.
Yeah, the characters I don't mind.
Okay.
You can talk about the characters. You can talk about their parents, the Monarchs. You can talk.
So anything revealed in those first 6 chapters, basically, or
so the first 6 chapters are the beginning premise of the story. So it's basically what you read on the back of the book, which is they get themselves banned from further proceedings at the Blue Moon Council, and they're forced to occupy themselves at a local festival instead. I
noticed you pull from everything. There's like some Norse mythology in there. Is that right? Like, or is it just the character named Thor and has lightning abilities? Because there's Raiden, which, by the way, I had always wondered, because I had assumed Raiden was a god from, what is it, Shinto? Or no, some sort of Japanese.
Yeah, Japan.
Thing. And then I was like, oh, maybe he's not, because I never see him in anything unlike Thor. I was like, maybe it's just a Mortal Kombat thing. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm looking this up and putting it to rest. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, he is.
Yeah, I pull pretty... I mean, it depends on the setting. I pull from a pretty wide array of mythological names, like the guy in the center there in the suit, Anubis. His name is pulled from Egyptian mythology, and even though he doesn't look like Anubis from Egyptian mythology, his power set kind of runs parallel to that character. Same thing with Raiden. She's a storm elemental. Although, like I said, I mainly just pull the names, but for the most part, if I pull a name from mythology, you'll probably see something, something along those lines, something similar to that. So if I, for example, I'm gonna kind of reveal one of the next projects I'm working on right now, or one of the characters from it. If I have a name that's kind of like a spin-off of Jormungand, like the world serpent or Jormungand from Norse mythology, you may or may not see a giant serpent, but you'll probably see something big, or you'll see something reptilian or something like that. That's how I do it.
Yeah, I mean that's all I noticed. Like even like Minotaur, like that's Greek mythology. Then you've got it's Raiden, and although I didn't really, it's Raijin, right? Is the
it's Raijin, I think.
Raijin?
And
I don't know
that's
why
the
everyone
original.
says Raiden.
No, I think Raiden became popular with Mortal Kombat.
Is that why they just? Oh, is that okay? That's my confusion. Okay.
Yeah, and
then,
I pulled it because I was like, I need a female name for a lightning god, and I don't want to use Indra or something like that, because that doesn't really click right with me. Maybe I can use Raiden as a female name. And I started, I tested it out. I was like, yeah.
That's Thor's a woman now. It's a mantle, so
No. I have a Thor. I have President Thor in my book.
So we've got Greek mythology, Norse, Shinto, and then you've got Egyptian. I noticed one thing about you, and it really does come across in your writing, is you're very well versed in different kinds of culture, pop culture. And I often do that too. It's almost like a grab bag where it's like, oh, I like this from this thing. I like this from this thing. It's you can definitely see your influences while it's still an identity of its own. With the aquatic creatures, because there's so many. You get anything from Aquaman to mermaids to sea people to like anything. When it comes to an aquatic guy, like, and designing a character like that, what made you decide you wanted, like, was that a big thing with you? Was how to go about water? Because even you look at sea life and it's super diverse. Like, how do you go about designing an aquatic character?
So I for this, I looked at Yu-Gi-Oh, I looked at Bakugan, I looked at the aquatic characters from there. I was like, okay, what kind of fantastical species or race can I pull from this? And so Tetris, he's a shapeshifter. He's the
Tetris is how you pronounce it, by the way?
Tetris, yeah. Like the video game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was, what is it? Yeah, he's a shapeshifter. He's the first one to have been born in centuries. I pulled that. And then I have native Atlanteans, which are kind of like Aquaman. They're somewhere between Aquaman and the Atlanteans from from Marvel. I have the explanation is in the actual footnote of, where is it? Yeah, the explanation's in the actual footnote.
Are we talking footnotes here, or do you have footnotes in your book? Because I know
there are footnotes in the book. I have them as like little asides.
I know Battle Angel Alita, even the manga did it. Yeah. So you've got, and we don't need to go through every single character design in depth, but even down to like forest nymphs, like I noticed you take from like other fantasies and from, I don't mean to say, but you know what I mean.
I mean, no, it's we're at a point, there's a lot of taking from that happens.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not like outright stealing anything, but what was it? There's a Brent Cole. I can't remember his name. He's an artist, and he was explaining this in one of his videos where he talks about developing your own style. We're at a point right now where everything's kind of taken from everything. You know? Like Jurassic Park, you take dinosaurs and amusement parks and you mash them together.
Yeah, right.
Or like the Scream movies, you take parody humor, slasher film, and the idea of a stalker who relentlessly pursues you, and you mash all them together. The key to seeing who's good and who's not is seeing who can take something old and spin it into something new. which is why you probably heard me discuss it before. What is it? The people who talk about how tired, how like they have to subvert tropes
Yeah.
and stuff like that. No, you don't have to subvert.
No, you don't.
You just like Wonder Woman, prime example. They use two tropes layered on top of one another to kind of fake people out and surprise people with the twist at the end.
Wait, which they're talking the movie?
Yeah, the first Wonder Woman movie with Gal Gadot.
Well, the ending of that movie, I liked the movie, but the ending was horrible.
What?
You thought the ending was good? Where Ares, the god of war, is like, actually, I'm the god of truth, and I'm like, actually, you're not. You're the god of war.
Oh, I didn't remember that part. I was talking about mostly the twist where they unveiled who he really was.
Yeah, I thought that okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad you liked that twist.
Yeah, no, I thought no, because it was extremely well executed. Because I thought I'll be honest, I took the bait because I saw one of the tropes they went with, and I was like, the Dr. Poison's gonna be here at the end. And but then I watched the movie, and then when it happened, I was like, oh, you actually surprised me. I really liked that. I thought that was executed, extremely well.
What can you expect in terms of tone from this book?
So like I said, it's very intrigue driven. There's a lot of back and forth between the characters where it's they're definitely not, how do I explain it? They're not suited to work well with each other for the most part. And they're because it's a group of 8 young entitled rich kids. You can expect some fighting, some fornicating, some friendship, and some
Fortnite.
Yeah, some Fortnite cating. Yeah, exactly. That'd be
crafting.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, some crafting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's dude, our generation.
But yeah,
that's about all the older backers. Thank you so much for putting up with our youngin humor. If you can even call that humor, what I just did. So it looks like you go so like you describe the tone as, I know you said a bit lighter. Would you describe it as a bit lighter, or
it's lighter in the yeah, I would say it's lighter because I've got a fair amount of humor in it. Not, overly comical stuff, although Trajan is very comic reliefy in the beginning. Okay. He's supposed to be that way in the beginning. I say it like this because I never say what's really up with Trajan, but I say he's a special egg.
You made it kind of clear,
I never make it clear what exactly is going on inside
Trajan
his head.
Is this one?
Yeah, he's the robot.
Right. Yeah.
He's the traveler. Yeah, he what was the initial question again?
Just about your tone.
Oh, my tone. Yeah, you can expect it to be lighter. It does get heavier about midway through the book because it's I think. I haven't really read into the. I can't remember the details of like the hero's journey off the top of my head, but it does get heavy, a little bit heavy in the middle, and then there are some heavier parts towards the end. But at the end, I have these enormous. The story culminates in these enormous back-to-back battles, which I absolutely love. Yeah,
I think
it's glorious. I love it.
So
that's how I'd characterize it. Glorious.
So John said, we gonna get some Pride and Prejudice level smut to read. I need to read about how someone's loins are longing for someone. So,
yes, actually. So if you scroll to the top,
I noticed some of that too. And earlier reading, I was like, "Whoa, this is adult fantasy."
Yeah. So that note up there. This work is for adults only. Is not suited for readers under 18.
Yeah.
So I do have
allowed.
Yeah. So I have graphic sexual activity, graphic violence, drug use, and profanity that occurs in this book.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, not the profanity.
The profanity.
No, I use like creative profanity. You know,
Ooh.
like I of course, because it's all fantasy races, I have if I want somebody to act in, you know, a racist fashion, I have to
You gotta make
create.
new slurs.
Yeah, I gotta make new slurs, but
Right.
there are also some derogatory terms that I incorporate in the book, which I
Hmm.
enjoy.
Hmm. Can I? I'm gonna clip that. No.
Yeah, no, you can. Oh, hold on.
No, it's okay.
Let's be quiet for a minute. I like derogatory terms.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can clip that. You can clip that.
So there we go. We can read about all these characters, and you have a world map.
Yes. So this is actually this is layered. So I'm scrolling down to it right now.
Yeah, maybe I
So
should
that
tell Rini you have a world map. That'll get her on your stream.
oh yeah.
Get her on your
Oh
stream.
yeah. She still didn't respond to you?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
It's no sweat whether or not she
No,
does.
anyway,
Don't
no,
worry
I just think
about it.
that's funny because she's always like, "Oh, my world map," you know.
Yeah,
So-
but yeah, so this is actually layered. So this first one up here are the nations on the surface world. So you've got the Great Wood, which is kind of this vast mystical forest, which is I kind of based the vibe of that off of A Midsummer Night's Dream. I have the
Wow,
tribe.
Shakespeare.
Yeah. I have the tribelands, which are ruled by the beast tribes. They're usually like grassy plains, stuff like that. The Northern Oceans, which is presided over by the Undersea Alliance. This is the Northern Oceans is where Tetris is from. The Burning Empire is this enormous expansionist empire fueled by war and warmongering in the Far East. It's ruled by a dynasty of dragon emperors, and it's massive volcanic wasteland. And then
Dragon, so like they're part dragon.
no, they are the way I set it up, they have humanoid forms and they have draconic forms.
Oh, draconic. By
yeah,
the way,
so
I will to give you a compliment as a writer. There were a few times I did have to use Google to make sure I knew what you were saying. So that's a good sign of vocabulary.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that one I kind of that one was kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Why isn't it dragonic? Why is it draconic?
I don't.
I'm sorry,
know.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I think it's just they're derived from Greek and Latin, and they get jumbled up and mixed or something like that.
Half dragon, half man. Oh god.
Yeah. Oh wait, speaking of this is I know I'm not on. Well, what's the llama show or Lonely Alpacas?
Lonely Alpacas.
Yeah, the llama show. I'm so sorry.
Wait, have you been on there before?
I have not. I know
Okay.
Absurd runs it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Absurd probably already knows about this one, but Velocipaster.
Well, that's one I'm really interested in seeing. I think it's if for nothing else, all you need is a goofy ass poster and a goofy ass name, and people will watch your movie. Well, at least 5 minutes of it. Maybe they might turn it off after a bit, but I'm entitled. I'm down to watch the Velocipaster at some point. Yeah. Anyway, so you've got the dragon people.
Yes, the
dragons. They're just your dragons, I guess.
Yeah, the dragons rule over the Burning Empire. So they have humanoid forms and they have draconic forms. Mm-hmm. It's basically like those anime power-up evolution type things that you see.
Gotcha.
They use it as like kind of a second form that they shift into, kind of like what is it, like Frieza from Dragon Ball. I think I don't watch a whole lot of Dragon Ball, but I know Frieza has like a few different forms. But then that second map, those are the nations outside the surface world. So high above the clouds, there's the shining city of heaven, which is this city of gold. That's where the gold-skinned celestials are from. Skyscraper City is this bustling metropolis that's kind of like a mashup of what is it, like New York City, Chicago, and LA all into one. And then there's the fleet, which is where the travelers live. That's this massive fleet of starships that's parked in the exosphere of all Earth. And then the underworld, which is where Anubis is from, is this subterranean nation where nocturnal creatures dwell, and that's about 3 leagues below sea level. So,
what's interesting is because the new Zelda game, people were like wondering what they're going to do because they are using it's set in the same location. Is they did a similar thing where they have like the map is like I've only gotten so far into it, but there's like an above section you like toggle, then there's the regular and the down. So it's like great minds. I mean, I guess that's not really like a crazy concept. Sometimes things are up and down and middle.
Yeah, no,
but it's still just great minds think alike.
Yeah, airborne cities. I don't know what it is. I absolutely love airborne, like the idea of airborne cities. I think it's because when I was a kid, the very first manga I read, and I think it's on my bookshelves somewhere, or I have it in a safe place in my apartment. No, it's a lesser known one. It's called Vermonia. The very first volume is called Quest for the Silver Tiger, and in Vermonia, in this book, these kids are transported to this place called the Turtle Realm, and in the Turtle Realm, there are these crazy, beautiful, like floating archipelagos. And when I was a kid, I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" So, yeah, that's why I've got three. That's why I've got two, airborne cities in my book.
Yeah, not one but two. That's really. I still need to play the third BioShock.
Because they've got floating.
They have
cities
underwater,
as well.
And then they got and I like the first two. I just haven't gotten to it. And BS Warren. Oh, is BS Blacksmith?
Yeah, Blacksmith of Worlds. That's kind of my motif, since I'm always, creating new fantasy worlds, new sci-fi worlds, new adventures. That's kind of how I characterize myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's okay. And then so Blacksmith Warren.
Yeah.
All right. And then, we've got all this is you.
Yeah, that's my icon right there. That's what I use. I had a friend from another Discord, Ultimo Neon. They're an awesome artist. They did this for me for a really reasonable price. I was actually ticked that they were like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to pay me that much." So
you were ticked that you didn't have to pay that much?
Yeah, no, because they're good. They're pretty talented. And especially because they're working on their own VTuber model now too. So,
are you gonna do a dream style face reveal or like a scarce one? What's up, guys?
I'll be honest. It's funny.
I don't care about either of those guys, but I know their face reveals.
Yeah. No, I don't. I'll be honest. I mean, you'll see my face at Garden State when we eat or whatever. Just because I don't want to. Hold on, I have the mask. I'm gonna be wearing it like cons and stuff right here. This is the same mask you see in that picture.
Ooh, yeah, no, I noticed.
Yeah, cool, yeah. For the most of the time, I'm gonna wear this mask, and I don't really ever plan on doing a fake reveal because for me it doesn't really matter who I am under this mask. What matters is what I'm putting on the page.
Absolutely. And doesn't Yoko Taro, I don't think, has he shown his face? Because I know the guy who did like Nier Automata. I don't know. I figured I was speaking your language for a bit, but maybe you don't know this one.
Nier Automata. I haven't played that. I don't know.
You like it being the weeb you are, and
I know who is it. I know the Demon Slayer creator did a face reveal at some point.
Oh, did she? It's a woman, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. It's a woman, and I
still need to watch season 3. I was going to watch it today, but then I got busy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, John. Yeah, that's the exact vibe. So I talked to. That was like a complete. That was something that Neon did. What was it? She like created. What was it? I told her what I was looking for. And when she drew this, like just straight up, and she was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Wow, that's nuts!" And I was like, "That's like the exact vibe I was going for." And I was like, "It looks like I have like the light of a Ford reflected in my eyes. That's awesome." So,
should I have been wearing a mask this whole time, guys? Did I make a mistake? I'm learning all these talented people, well, too late now. Guys, I could backtrack and be like, guys, my name actually isn't Vaughn Coleman. And this has been a mask the whole time.
Yeah. It's been John Travolta the whole time.
Well, if I was John Travolta and I went as anyone else, I'd be a moron.
No, what's the video you used to play? The John Gotti one.
Oh, John Gotti.
Yeah, the one with Mario and Luigi and John Gotti.
Yeah, we used to. I still play it. You might see it tonight. I know a lot of people say that one's pretty popular because the thing is, all right. Well, I'll talk about my intros later. Like on my, when we do the after party, which those of you that are watching after the fact, you might not be there, but those watching you tonight, right now, there will be an after party for this. Now, for because I know you talk, you pull from a lot of different things in this book.
Yes.
What are some of your like favorite pieces of media of ever?
Oh boy.
Like your biggest inspirations as a writer? Because I know it's a lot. So if that's too much, we can narrow it down.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do. I really like Brian Jock. One thing that one of my beta readers that read the book a while ago said is that I have very, very heavy Tolkien influence, which is nuts because I haven't read the Lord of the Rings trilogy in a long while.
But you've read it, I assume.
Oh yeah, I read it. I read it a couple times in middle school, and then I read it again in high school. And I've also read The Hobbit like 4 times. But yeah, I really enjoyed those books, and I had no idea how prominent that influence was until I kind of went back and I was like, wow, the names of the Celestials do sound kind of a little bit elven, or like the Beast Tribe names. They sound like what is it? Not just Beorn, but some of the other more savage races, I suppose. Or they sound a little bit dwarven. Some of them sound a little bit dwarven.
It's people talking. Wait, no, never mind. Yes, you fucked up. It's too late now. Well, whatever. But this ain't about me. It's about B.S. Warren. So this book, it's titled Last War. Now, I know, for example, Final Fantasy is anything but final, that series, so I know it could just be a title.
The Final Fantasy is on
but is there going to be do you plan on doing sequels to The Last War of 8 Kingdoms?
So I have ideas for them. However, like I said, I've mentioned this before. I have a very large backlog of books. Like, hold on. I have it written in the front of this notebook that I have next to me. It's
Oh, do you have? I have massive lists of ideas to write too, and then I spend more time writing about them than writing them.
I've started choreo. I have my next 2 works. I might release them at about the same time. It was or one of them is a 4-part fantasy series, and that's going to be a book series. I'm not going to lump that together in one novel. It's going to be like a full book series, and then the other one is going to be a one-shot space opera novel. And when I say one shot, I mean it's just like a one-off thing set in its own universe. But I've got 1, 2, 3, or no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I've got 6 one-shot novels. No, 7, because there's one that's not listed here on this list. 6 or 7 one-shot novels, 2 4-part book series, and then my comic books that I want to start working on. And that's part of the reason why the comic books I want to write are a ways out, because I have a lot of stuff to get through first.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I do have ideas for sequels, but as it stands, this is going to be, and certainly you're getting your money's worth, when you buy this. I guarantee it. It really is an incredible story.
Yeah, lots of degeneracy and cool fantasy. It's got it all, guys. If you're a degenerate, this is for you. If you like, what? By the way, what does high fantasy mean as opposed to fantasy?
So I know you know who RJ of the Island is.
No, absolutely not.
He's the guy. He does what is it? He runs a YouTube channel called The Fourth Age. He went into a video where he talked about it. I know, what was it? High fantasy is like, yeah. So high fantasy or epic fantasy is a subgenre of fantasy defined by the epic nature of its setting or by the epic stature of its characters, themes, or plot. And usually it's set in an alternative fictional world rather than the real or primary world. Which I will say, that's one of the characteristics you'll see with my books. Most of them, except for the comics, they're going to be set in, a world vastly more spectacular than our own. That's the way
My first superhero comic will be a high superhero comic, not like those pedestrian Marvel, DC, and other people's books. Mine is going to be the first ever high superhero comic.
Or are you
How's that?
gonna have LSD in it?
No, I'm
Is
just
that
gonna
gonna be your first
just gonna
superhero?
coin it, and then everyone's gonna have to make up what the definition is. Well, what did Vaughn Coleman do? Because that's technically the first high, superhero thing. Well, you gotta make sure, because what I'm doing by doing that, you have to understand, is I'm inherently saying, you guys got to match me. I'm the gold standard. You know what I mean? Now, so I had a list of questions. So this was multiple. So this story could be have a sequel, you said, but it's not like
it could. Like I said, I've got a couple ideas for spinoffs. Like I've got one involving Bjorn's father, Ragnar. That's the closest one, but there are a lot of the thing about my writing process is I don't launch into a project. I mean, I'll doodle a bit on paper, but I don't launch into a project and start writing unless I've got like 90% of the plot like fleshed out.
I'm
like
kind
mentally
of like
at
that.
least. Like if I've got the beginning and the end, and I've got some of the scenes I want to happen in the middle, then I'm like, okay, I can run.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, like, I know, what is it? George R.R. Martin. So I read the first book of A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. And then I started reading the second one, and then I realized that George R.R. Martin was not finishing the series, and then I was like, screw this, because he kind of he talks, what is it? Sorry, not talks. The way he writes. I keep looking over at the chat and like accidentally reading the words I see in the chat, but the way George R.R. Martin writes, he just launches into something, and when you do that, I'm not saying you're going to set yourself up to lose passion, but you can end up in a place where you very rapidly lose passion for the work.
What if you wait too long? Is what you're saying?
No, if you just launch into it and you just write without like any specific direction,
I can see that. I can totally see that. That's a good point. All right, that's a good note. Yeah, I'll have to do that.
This is sad.
The alien face is such a perfect expression too.
Oh, John, that's exactly what I call M. Night Shyamalan. I think
Shyamalama Ding Dong.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong.
So okay, that's interesting. So it's like kind of like a maybe thing, but this is very self-contained. And so when it comes to this book, it seemed, because this was multiple stories, right?
Yes, multiple stories.
A lot of that happens all the time with writers, but it's just really interesting because I could see so many elements. You've got sci-fi elements, you've got high fantasy and like Tolkien-esque. I don't know if like that kind of stuff. Then you've got like mythology. I'm even like vampire stuff. I'm seeing bits of everything. Was that just like really like a bunch of the different genres that like melding those genres? That's got to be a high task.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to. There's some what is it? You do have to kind of the word my mom uses. You do have to like finagle it a little bit, because you gotta figure out, well, why do these guys have laser guns and these guys don't, or how can a group of barbarian tribes hope to stand up to modern weaponry and stuff like that. So there is like there is a lot of kind of it's very, very, I'll say it's very carefully put together. I'll say it like that. It is very, very carefully put together and assembled. What is it? And then because that's what I'll say. And I will say some of the chapters later in the book, like I know some of the chapters, like the structure and stuff of them, they're inspired from, what is it? You asked a few times about like my my influences and stuff. I mentioned The Promised Neverland. A couple of a couple of the more villain focused chapters are directly inspired by the Promised Neverland. Specifically like the Goldie Pond arc from the Promised Neverland. Later in the book, I have a chapter that characterizes, one of the villains of the book or one of the antagonists in the same way that that the Promised Neverland characterizes Grand Duke Luvis. But yeah.
So what made you decide on crowdfunding for this?
Mainly to just get the ball rolling, trying to get the book to pay for itself. Like I mentioned it down at the bottom in the risks and challenges. I've already covered, the majority of the cost for the book, like the typesetting, the copy editing, the what is it? The art for the cover, the map illustrations. Map illustrations, by the way, these are done by Daniel's Maps. He did a great job. He's over in the Netherlands. But yeah, like I said, mainly just to get the ball rolling, trying to get the book to start paying for itself. Because I wanna be able to, like I said, I have a huge backlog, so I wanna be able to, start to get cranking on other projects, so I can share more stuff and bring more adventures to people. So
it's also it's just good to have on your resume. I wrote a book.
Yeah,
and people paid for it.
Oh yeah. And one of the great things, like I said, I mentioned this in one of my emails to my my early sign up people. Like I said, everything is already done. The only thing left to be like handled is the printing fees. Like even the ebook is finished right now. I have the ebook formatted and like ready for distribution on my desktop right now. So.
All right, so we got the duality of man, and we have two Johns spelled differently that have two very different approaches to talking to me. One, Conan is more sword sorcery compared to Tolkien high fantasy. I've actually read Sonia, but I haven't read any Conan. But that's very nice, helpful response, intelligent. Thank you, John. Now we have the other John who said, Vaughn with the hard-hitting journalistic questions like, what made you decide on crowdfunding? Money, Vaughn. It's nice to get money. Thank you, man.
Yeah. One thing I will say, like, I'm not... This actual crowdfunding, like I said, it's just to cover the printing fees. I'm not like turning a profit directly from the crowdfunding. The crowdfunding campaigns are just wired in such a way that they're designed to help me print a surplus of the books that I can retail directly to people. So,
yeah. And I like to close out because I know you've mentioned some. Who are some of your favorite writers, just in general? I know whether it be comic books and a manga.
Brian Jacques, again, like I said, Tolkien is obviously one of my subconscious large influences. There's one I'm actually thinking, what is it? I can't think of what it was. But like I said, manga. I pulled from the Promised Neverland. What else? I pull from all over the place. I can't think of everything off the top of my head. Obviously comic books. I talk about comic books a lot. Yeah. So one of the anti-heroes. So Dark Reign from Marvel?
Dark Reign.
Yeah, so Dark Reign was this big event following Secret Invasion. It was basically when the whole world got turned on its head, because after Secret Invasion, Tony Stark was ousted as the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., and S.H.I.E.L.D. was dismantled to make way for Norman Osborn and his organization, Hammer. And that, oh my gosh, Dark Avengers had some freaking awesome...
So it's worth a read, because I've never read it.
Oh, in my opinion, yeah, it's absolutely worth a read. And the art for it is amazing. I can't remember who does.
I like this cover, man.
Oh yeah, dude. No, especially if you look at the lineup, if you don't mind pulling like the Avengers, the Dark Avengers lineup. Not that. That's a. Oh wait, yeah, no, that is. Sorry, that's.
Wait, did you just doubt me?
No, I thought you were looking at a different Dark Avengers thing, but this is like the cabal of villains that Norman Osborn kind of collects. It's really, oh god, this is one of the really cool moments. So at the end of Secret Invasion, this is how Secret Invasion ends. Norman Osborn, after he's named head of Shield, head of national security, all that jazz, and head of the Avengers, mind you. Norman Osborn was once the leader of the Avengers, but he goes into the basement of Avengers Tower where Doctor Doom and Namor and Emma Frost and Loki and the Hood are, and he says, "All right, listen up. From now on, this is how it's going to be," and that it ends on that. Because he doesn't go into like detail with them, but he basically he says, "Look, we're on top of the world now. This is how it's going to go." And oh god, the Dark Avengers lineup. If you, I don't know if you'd mind looking up Dark Avengers lineup. That's another great one.
Do you remember here? Wait, let's see, Dark Avengers.
Yes, so that one where they're all staying on the stage. Yes, I don't know who the artist is.
Why are we looking at them from penis level?
I don't know that now that you mention it, it kind of makes me think that Frank or Mike S. Miller drew this because he always does like the penis up view. But
this is Ms. So this was a bit like a little bit ago because we got Ms. Marvel, but this is like her classic costume. It looks
that's the twist though. That's not Miss Marvel. That's Moonstone.
It's who?
Moonstone, the villain.
Oh,
so
okay.
Norman
was I supposed to know that, or is it supposed to be a twist?
No, that's the big thing. So if you click back on the one where they're all on the stage, I can just go from like left to right.
All right. I'm sorry, but that's like the first thing I noticed this angle. Why?
Yeah, no, no.
He's standing with his legs like this.
Yeah, so
except the one girl has her legs closed. Notice that all the men have them spread akimbo.
Yeah,
one woman does. Anyway.
Yeah, well, she doesn't have
I know it's very, like I said. I just think it's very strategic in nature. If I'm being honest with you.
But yeah, so that girl dressed as Miss Marvel, that's actually Moonstone, like Carla Sofin, the villain. And then you got Ares, you got Sentry. That's Novar on the far left. He doesn't stay with the team for very long. But then over on the right, that's not Wolverine. That's his son Daken. That's not Hawkeye. That's Bullseye, and that's not Spider-Man. That's Matt Gargan's Venom.
Oh, that's interesting.
They had, oh my gosh, it was the sickest lineup of anti-heroes that I'd ever seen. Oh yes, definitely, most definitely. I enormously enjoyed Dark Reign because I like me personally, and again, this is what plays into my writing preferences. I like my anti-heroes like extra nasty, like especially like Matt Gargan's Venom. I like Matt Gargan's Venom a lot better than Eddie Brock because Eddie Brock's Venom is a villain, right? He's like dastardly, he's like, I'll get you again, I'll get you, Spider-Man, if it's the last thing I do. Matt Gargan eats people in the heat of combat. He's the, like, if you ever see like the pictures of Venom where he's like this hulking monster, that's probably Matt Gargan's Venom. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
I'm sorry. Everyone's saying it's me noticing the penis angle. Dude, this is do you know how many possible angles they could have chosen? And they did this. Don't blame me. They're out here in the chat blaming me.
Zach's got it accurate. He likes his villains like I like my women black with no cream.
I'm going to keep rolling.
Sorry.
When I was in class, like we were looking up Ares. It was because we were looking up Greek mythology stuff, and then we were like, "What? Dark Avengers Ares?" Because I knew Ares as a DC character. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not far-fetched for him to be in Marvel because like Hercules and stuff. Yeah. But anyway, guys, let's see. I had a list of questions, and I think. Oh, okay. I did want to ask you because you've written this as a novel and a lot of fantasy novels. Would you ever want to see this, or would you ever adapt this in another medium? This story?
Not with current Hollywood, definitely not a live action. I think it would probably do better as an anime, but there's a lot of I will acknowledge that some stuff is better suited for specific mediums, and this is probably one of those cases. Even though like I've heard when people read it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I can see the scenes like in my head like a movie."
It's very cinematic in a lot of areas. It really is.
Yeah, but the thing is, even though it's very cinematic on the page, it wouldn't. I feel like the flow of the story wouldn't translate very well to a medium. or like a visual medium like an anime show or a live action.
And your
But yeah, an anime, I would love an anime.
And your characters, they're very diverse too, not like in a whole bunch of ways. Even like you have correct from wrong, you had a lesbian character, right? In the first 6 pages.
Yeah. She is. And I mean that doesn't come into play like a whole lot because I got, as you probably know, I've gotten, I'm pretty sick of woke culture. So I don't do what I do for ESG. Like I said,
Right,
I
exactly.
do
It's
this
just
for the,
but that's what makes it more authentic. It's not like you're just kind of writing it all, and it just feels natural. And I think it's some very solid writing overall. Like again, it feels, and I could just tell the reasoning why is just you felt whatever, just work for the story. But without further ado, guys, thank you so much for coming on. We've talked for a long ass time, but it was really, I enjoyed every second of it. I'm looking forward to talking with you more on the after party. I'm looking forward to reading this book. So Bobby, of course, just showed up. Well, and just in time for the after party. So guys, stay tuned. Next week, next Tuesday, I do have my next guest. If you guys remember way back, and I want to say episode 8, I had a good guy. He's a indie comic book creator. I found him through TikTok named Braden Boyd. Well, he's got a new book that I think is going to be 80 pages or so, and he's got him and his friend are doing that. So I'm going to be having both of them for my 20th episode next Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. And it's a sci-fi book, so definitely check that out. It's got a very unique art style. But until then, make sure you guys. One last time, let's blast out those Young Monarchs links, whether you're buying on Indiegogo, whether you're buying on Fund My Comic. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll see you guys tonight and next episode. Take care.
See you, dudes.